Hello there, good morning and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Morning Show. Great to have your company. We've got lots in store for you. Later on we catch up with a number of people who have been very busy since about Sunday afternoon of last weekend, rehearsing and putting the final touches on Shepparton Theatre Arts Group's latest production, and it's entitled Pirates of Penzance, and we'll chat to them a little bit later on. Also we catch up with a regular on the program, Christine Tully. We're going to look at selection of colour, not only in makeup but also in clothes, and just what that can do for you. And we've got some pictures that I think you'll find very interesting. And talking about looking at things, particularly visual things, my first guest is Director of the Shepparton Art Gallery, Joe Pascoe, to talk about not only their latest exhibition but also some up-and-coming ones. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Jane.
I have to ask you first, are you going to the Pirates of Penzance?
Oh, definitely. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It sounds so exciting, and I really think everyone should go and see that.
Well, oh, look, I didn't pay you to say that, but thank you for it. But I'm delighted to hear that you're going to pop along and see it. Joe, the last time I chatted to you, we were talking about the Stephen Benwell and David Potter ceramics collection. Now, I keep my eye on the local paper and all that sort of thing, and I gather the opening was fairly good. You had a lot of interesting people along.
That was terrific. The artists came up from Melbourne, brought their families, and a lot of people came along to the opening, and the exhibition is on until the end of the month. But it goes on tour, and you can catch it later in Melbourne at the National Gallery of Victoria next year.
I noticed that you had an ex-director of the gallery opening the exhibition too.
Peter Timms. I think he was contentious in his day, and that's a good thing, and he lent a lot to the gallery, and it was good to have him back.
He would have noticed a few changes, a few differences too.
Yeah, and I think it was a similar place. He liked the warmth of it all, and he particularly admired the way the collection had grown.
Great. Well, let's move on and talk about exhibitions, because the next one you've got is a contemporary art collection, which sounds rather interesting. Tell us about that.
Oh, this is absolutely devastating and exciting. We're taking down all those lovely paintings that everyone likes and going to shock everyone and put in the ICI Contemporary Art Collection, which is a lot of big, very modern paintings.
Well, you've brought along some examples this morning. We thought we'd take a little look just to show people what they are in store for, and I think you're quite right, it's just totally different. So let's have a look at some of the examples and you can tell us about them, because they're certainly colourful to say the least.
This is by John Campbell, and this is very different from the Longstaffs in the collection, because this shows three youths who are looking bored and standing around a corner. So you have to guess what it's about, in a sense. It's a very, very large painting, about 10 foot high. So there's not much detail, but you can just imagine the kids standing around looking bored or being part of the general sort of scene, can't you?
Right. Well, that's the first one. We'll move on to the second one. As we said, it's certainly different. Is this a sculpture, is it?
That's right, the polychrome timber sculpture with a bit of decoration behind it. It just shows a lady with a hat, and it's by Bob Jennings, and he's been associated with the craft arts movement in Tasmania, and he's very talented. It's got a lot of humour in that one, hasn't it?
It's very, very different too, and I can just imagine how much work went into that, and certainly fun to have a look at as well.
It's life-size too.
Yeah, well, I thought so. That was the next question. That's what I meant by a lot of work going into it, because it's rather big. We'll move on to the next one just to have a look at the differences. I like this. The sky is magnificent. Oh
yes, this is another big painting. It's called Late 20th Century Painting, #1, and it's by John Neeson.
Absolutely magnificent. That's one of my favourites, and we'll have a look at the last one as well, just to give people, as I said, an idea. This is different, isn't it?
This is a very charming, smaller painting by Vivian Shark-Lewitt, and it's called Untitled Bicentennial Arts, and it depicts the muses in a boat.
So this is the Contemporary Art Collection. Now, the dates for that, so people know when to go along.
It opens on the 20th of September, and we've got the Shepparton Jazz Quartet along for the night. So you can all come along and have a dance too.
Oh, and have some great music. Oh, that sounds terrific.
At 7 p.m.
We've got a few things to talk about that are up and coming at the gallery. Now, September 4th through to the 30th, Shepparton Artists Society are staging something. Tell us about that.
That's right. That's completely different from the ICI Art Collection, and this is a members exhibition from the Shepparton Artists Society, and we're very honoured to have him show their work. And I think a lot of people will enjoy it because it shows scenes from around Shepparton and the Golden Valley.
Joe, I know that you're new to the Shepparton district. I've had a lot to do with local artists, as people who regularly watch the morning show know, because they've all been on the morning show. You must be quite surprised at the breadth of talent, because there are many people who paint.
Oh, it's enormous, and they all gain pleasure from it. And I think it's very important that the local gallery show that work.
And the fact that they're ranging in ages from young through to a little bit more mature.
That's
shall we
right.
say.
It goes to show that anyone can paint, and it's a very enjoyable activity.
I don't know about anyone. I'm not too sure. I haven't tried to dabble in that myself. Maybe a little bit later on.
From what you've been telling me about Pirates of Penzance, the scenes in that are absolutely fantastic.
Thank you very much. Yes, but I didn't paint those. I can really tell you that. I might have slapped a few bits and pieces on. Talking about people painting, Craig Manning. Now, I gather that that's another exhibition that's a little bit later on after the Shepparton Artists Society. Tell me about him.
Craig Manning lectures in painting at the TAFE, or the Golden Valley Community College, and his exhibition will be running throughout October. And I think a lot of people have learnt from Craig, and will be very interested to see how his style has evolved over the last few years.
And once again, we see that local participation in the art gallery, which is great to see.
It's very important.
There's a printmaking workshop I thought that we could let people know about. Tell us about that.
That's being conducted from September 15 through to 17, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it has a small cost, and it's being held at the Golden Valley Community College. And if you're interested, it's being run by Marion Crawford through the Shepparton Art Gallery.
So you can learn from go to woe about
That's
making
right,
prints.
particularly about lino cutting. So it might be a novel way of making Christmas cards this year.
That's a good idea. Joe, we've got a lot in common because you really have to be plan those exhibitions well and truly, a long time ahead, don't you?
Yes, we use the organised chaos method.
I'm not too sure about that. No. My guest at the moment is director of the Shepparton Art Gallery, Joe Pascoe. Joe, I guess for people who don't know just when you're open, we should tell people.
Yes, we're open on weekends from 2 till 5 and during the week from 1 till 5, and it's free to come in.
Delighted to hear it. And Joe, once again, thank you for being on the morning show. We'll catch up with you in another few weeks right here on the program.
Thank you, Jane.
My pleasure. We'll take a quick break. I'll be back in just a moment with Christine Tully on the Thursday edition of the morning show.
Okay, boys, let's pack it in.
Bye. Let's go.
Okay, I'll drive. Anyone seen the keys?
But you had it on Wednesday.
Once you get to know a Nissan, the hardest thing you'll have to decide is who's going to drive.
Come on, how'd you get? It's my car.
With Nissan's 2-year warranty,
Hey, that's my car!
It's my car.
Gordon Muntz Pharmacy, in conjunction with Helena Rubinstein, is offering you a unique opportunity to have your skin privately and professionally analysed. Helena Rubinstein's skincare specialists, Sari and Jenny, will be operating an in-store salon from the 22nd to the 25th of August. A salon fee will apply for this exclusive offer, but will be redeemed on any purchase. Appointments are essential as numbers are limited. Call the girls at Gordon Muntz Pharmacy on 212844.
When my customers ask me which washing machine or dryer I recommend, I tell them Maytag. I recommend Maytag for their outstanding washing and drying performance and cost efficiency. And I recommend Maytag for their outstanding dependability. They're built to last a lifetime, and this is backed by their exclusive warranty. Maytag for the big, wide country wash. They're outstanding.
Your Maytag dealers are Aplight Shepparton, the Co-Store Wangaratta and Sloane's Radio Seymour.
Welcome back to the morning show. If indeed you want any further information about that segment that Joe Pascoe presented, or indeed want to find out any further information about the Shepparton Art Gallery, he can be contacted on 058 216352 216352. My guest right now, who presents segments every now and again here on the morning show, of course, is Christine Tully. And we're going to talk about something that's really important, that's colour selection, not only of makeup but clothes, and just how that can help you. Chris, welcome back to the show.
Good, thank you, Jen.
Nice to have you here. Before we actually talk about our topic this morning, last time we were talking about sunscreens and particularly in the snow, and I gather that a lady said to you that she had a few problems and wasn't aware of all the information, was she?
Yes, actually it was interesting, Jan, because she actually had an allergy to the sun and she was having a lot of trouble with it, and she wasn't aware of the fact that you could get a sunscreen with a more protective factor than 15. So I was able to help her out with that, so I'm hoping that it's going well for her.
Yeah, so indeed the idea when you do go up to the snow and that type of thing, it's really important, isn't it?
Oh yes, and particularly for the kids too. Generally this time of the year, if you've got a nice sunny day, there is a lot of glare, so it really is important to keep that sunscreen on.
Chris, colour selection, this is what we're going to talk about this morning. I just want, what determines colours that suit you best? I mean, we've all done it, we've all put on a colour and thought, gee, that looks really good on me, and then the next day you can look pale or whatever. So explain that to me.
Yes, actually, Jan, colour analysis is very popular. It actually originated in America, and it's a way of determining the undertones in your skin to find out whether you perhaps tend to be a peachy-based undertone, or what we call warm, or a pinky-based undertone, which is cool. And you find that you fit into either one of these categories, and as a result, by wearing either a peachy-based colour or a pinky-based colour, a lot of lightness is sort of thrown up onto the face area, and it gives you a really good, robust, healthy sort of look.
And it also, I guess, if you follow it right through, as I mentioned, not only with makeup but with clothes, everything that are sort of toned in, it really sort of has an overall effect.
Oh, it does. It's a really well-groomed look with colour analysis. You find that you should be able to go and perhaps pull out a blouse, a skirt, a pair of shoes, and it should all match. And I'm sure that there's not many women that can say that their wardrobe at home is completely mix and match, and this is what we aim for with sort of steering you into the right direction with colour. Also with your makeup, it's very important because it's always nice to have a lipstick that's going to blend in with all of the colours and the garments that you do have. You find it makes it a lot easier.
Well, we've got some slides this morning that really, I guess they're before and after shots, so let's take a look at those, and the different models too. Starting off with this one.
Right, this lass is quite fair. She's looking very pale there. She's wearing a sort of a really soft greeny sort of colour, but it doesn't do a lot to highlight her features. You can see around the nose and the cheek area there's quite a bit of redness there, and she just overall looks quite pale.
Well, let's move to the next shot and we'll show just what can be done if you do select the right colours.
Right, and here she is. She looks really stunning there actually, Jan. Also, it's interesting to note with this lass the neckline, because she has got quite a long neck, and by selecting a different neckline it does really flatter her face shape a lot more.
And I gather jewellery, everything has really been selected carefully.
Yes, these are a good example of the cool tones, where you've got sort of your cool undertone in both your silver jewellery and also the blouse she's wearing as well as her makeup.
Well, we're going to show a lot of examples, so we'll move along to our next slide just to show someone different.
Once again, we've got quite a sickly look here. I think if you turned up looking like this, you'd probably get the day off work.
I don't know, it looked something similar to what I felt like this morning.
This lass, she's got quite a bit of colour in her hair, and she can cope with much more vivid colour than what she's wearing. She looks sort of quite pale and drawn out with these particular colours on, and yet with these colours on another woman, perhaps with a fairer hair and complexion, they would look stunning.
All right, well, let's move along to the next shot. Gee, boy, doesn't she look different?
She does. She looks great. It's amazing what just a little bit of colour and a little bit of makeup can do. She looks healthy, fit, and also I really like the colour of her jacket there, because she can carry that quite well.
And the neckline of her blouse and that sort of thing really highlights her face and suits her, doesn't it?
It does. Some of the things that we find with the colour, Jan, if you're wearing a colour that perhaps is reflecting shadows up onto your skin, is dark circles under the eyes, tends to throw up different shadows, and as we were saying, redness in the skin area as well.
We'll move along to the next shot just to give people a different idea.
Right. This lady's one of my favourites actually. She's sort of getting to that age where she's starting to get a few little odd grey hairs creeping in, and you can see she's wearing a multicolour, which is it's a very busy pattern in her blouse, and your eyes tend to look straight for her blouse rather than look at her as an overall figure. And it's surprising to see just what the right colours do for this lady as well.
All right, we'll move on and show you just exactly That is a difference, isn't it?
Yeah, she looks stunning. And also that really picks up the effects of her hair. She's decided to let her hair go naturally grey, and the stripe that's in her blouse actually really completes that look. Stunning.
Yeah, lovely blouse, a good choice, and really shows off her makeup. I think we have a couple of more shots. We'll move along. If I get a blank screen, I guess I know that we've run out of shots. Here we are.
Once again, actually, this lady is very fair, and a lot of women tend to wear black as a colour, but you can see it's just really draining her of colour, and our eyes also tend to go straight for the blouse rather than look at her overall.
Well, let's see what happened once some attention was paid to selection. That's a difference, isn't it?
Yeah, she looks great. She looks stunning, actually. Her skin looks really clear and alive, and also that colour's not dragging your eyes away from the look around her face.
I also wondered if you're into colouring your hair, all those sorts of things, you need to really be careful if you're going to change the colour of your hair to then look at your makeup and make sure that that tones in too.
Definitely. Actually, it's probably a good idea to speak to your hairdresser about that, Jan, because I believe these days even the hair colours come in, you cool or you warm, so you can carry that theme right through to sort of your hair, makeup and wardrobe.
It's amazing what difference it can make too. We're going to move on and talk about selecting perfume, selecting fragrance. That's something we've never done before, and it's really important because that's a personal sort of trademark too as well.
Oh, very much so, Jan. Often your fragrance really does bring out your personality. So it is a really interesting topic, actually.
All right. Well, some tips on selecting fragrances. Could you give us those?
Yes, I often find if you're looking for a new fragrance, it's a good idea just to try a maximum of 2 fragrances, because often if you're sort of squirting things everywhere, the poor old nose can only take in so much, and you find that you're just getting a confront of different fragrances. So it's a good idea just to try 1 or maybe 2 at a time. Go home, see what they're like, get the comments from your friends and family too. Often if somebody says, hey, that's a lovely fragrance, you know you've hit the right one.
What about when you're actually selecting them? I mean, when you go along, you're usually confronted by people who are trained and they know what to do, but I often find I'll go in there getting carried away and sort of think, oh, I like this one, I like that one. It can get rather confusing, so you really need to apply them properly to know just what one that you're selecting.
Yes, it is a good idea to try them on your wrist rather than on a test strip, because you find with the acidity of your skin often changes the fragrance. And when you're spraying them, it's important never to just bring the wrist straight up and have a really good smell then, because often you're smelling pure alcohol. So it's a good idea just to let the alcohol evaporate and then just wave the fragrance back and fro under the nose to really pick up the pure fragrance.
That's also an important point for anyone who suffers from allergies. Now, I really don't like flowery perfumes. They really don't agree with me at all, and that's important. You need to go for something a little bit more subtle.
Yes, if you do have a lot of allergies, perhaps try even a perfume body lotion or a perfume powder. Often that can bring enough fragrance through just for your personality, or as an alternative even spray perhaps a handkerchief with a little bit of fragrance rather than put it straight onto your skin.
And I guess other things like body lotion and talcs and all those sorts of things are a good alternative too.
Oh, they're great, Jan. And often a lot of women, if they're going out for a special occasion, if you have got a fragrance you really like, I think it's a nice idea to gradually add to it so that you can use the body products as well. Some lovely deodorants and powders and body lotions which really set off your perfume.
One thing that people have mentioned to me is the fact that sometimes when they use perfume a lot, pigmentation on the skin. But what's your answer to that?
Actually, because perfume has got a high alcohol content, any sort of exposure to the sun can result in pigmentation, particularly around sort of the neck area. It is a good idea to wear your fragrance under your garments, somewhere where it's not going to be exposed to the sun. So just often a little spray across the décolletage, and also your pulse points is really good.
And because there's such a range of perfumes that are available to choose from today, that's another thing. There's just such a wide range of things that, particularly if people are buying presents for you, good idea to drop a hint every now and again of the sort of things that you need, particularly if you have got allergies, because there's nothing worse than having a really flowery perfume given to you.
True. Actually, if you are selecting a perfume for somebody, it's a good idea just to stick to a very basic one. A lot of the fragrances these days are made up as treatments, and they've got a lot of aromatherapy oils in them, so perhaps if you are buying it for a gift, you might be better to stick to something a little bit more basic, which would really sort of suit all types of personalities, people that like fragrances.
My guest at the moment is Christine Tully, presenting her regular segment here on the morning show. Chris, lovely to have you back, and we'll catch up with you not only on the program but the Pirates of Penzance, because this lady's been doing some stage makeup as well. Thank you for that.
Good. Thanks a lot, Jan.
My pleasure. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back, yes, to talk about that show, I should say, Pirates of Penzance, right here on the morning show.